Is it just me, or is anyone else wondering how on earth Rachel Reeves still has her job?
What in the £22 million black hole?
Just never ceases to amaze me. I mean, recently, you've seen her dancing around the place and saying that she wants to come after allotments. Then she capitalised on 8 already, so that didn't take long. But now she's back. This time she's back for something else.
The UK receives £1 trillion a year in taxes. £1 trillion a year. That's 1,000 billion. We hear so many negatives on the news. And it's funny because you watch them on TV and you see Starmer say, things are going to get worse before they get better. We need real change. How they need to spend more money and how they need to take us money from us to make things work, and how they need to use us money for this and how they need to use us money for... We are giving him £1 trillion a year in taxes. 1 trillion. I'm going to leave you guys to comment underneath to see what you think we could get done in this country and what we could get fixed for £1 trillion.
So the country's skint, completely skint. Apparently the black hole in the accounts or public finances is between 40 and 50 billion pounds now, which is double the amount when good old Lego head Rachel Reeves and two-tier Kia took over. But at the very same time, the levels of taxation in this country as a percentage of GDP is the highest pretty much it's ever been. So how do those two things square off? How have we not got enough money for anything? How are we having to borrow increasingly large amounts of money? How is the national debt at the highest level it's ever been? Yet the levels of taxation are also higher than they've ever been. Clearly, we're spending too much money and we're spending it on the wrong things. We're spending it in the wrong places and we're wasting it. That's the easy answer. To give you an idea of just how high taxes are, let's just look at basic taxes like income tax. So the government, all the governments, Conservative and the current Labour government, would argue, well, we haven't put taxes up. We haven't put taxes on working people up, as Labour describe it. We haven't put income tax up. But they have. They absolutely have, by freezing the thresholds for so many years. How many times have the thresholds gone up? Let's say in the last 10 years. The Tories did it a fair bit. They pushed it up to 12,000, I think it's £750 now for the lowest tax threshold. But look at how...
Hello everyone and welcome to Blighty Blighted. Right, the blight just keeps getting worse, doesn't it? Now these clowns want us to pay up just for having a measly shed in our gardens. What's next? Taxing our sweat? Things have gotten too far. We didn't vote for this. I certainly didn't vote for any of this. We are truly in the twilight zone now. How much more of this are we going to take? All this nonsense wouldn't have worked a generation ago. Just look at the poll tax riots in the early 90s. People still had a backbone and balls. Now anything goes, isn't that right? Right. Let's look at the state of it then.
What in the £22 million black hole? So they've been in power for just over a year, and the $22 million billion black hole has now turned into a £50 billion black hole. This government and Rachel from accounts are going to be raising income tax and any other tax that they can in October. They have no other way, because the borrowing and the country's finances are out of control. Remember when he came on, he says, never going to raise council tax, not 1 penny more. No raising on it. The normal people, the working people. Well, that £22 billion black hole that people are saying doesn't exist has now turned into a £50 billion black hole in a year. So what's that going to be in another 3 years? 150 billion? These are cooked. My worry is, unless these aliens do land and take over the world on the 29th of October, there's not going to be any country left for us to fight for.
But we're doing great things for the country. And Rachel's going to be the Chancellor for many, many more years to come.
It just never ceases to amaze me. I mean, recently, you've seen her dancing around the place and saying that she wants to come after allotments. Then she capitalised on 8 already, so that didn't take long. But now she's back. This time she's back for something else. It's not far from what we were just talking about. It is. Now, Angela Rayner wants to tax your garden shed. Yeah, let that sink in. Thanks to her army of council snoopers, these are the steps you'll need to take now. Alright? Now, coming after people's garden sheds. I mean, where do these people feel that that is part of running the country? Yeah, coming into my garden and saying, let's have a look at that shed. I'm like, oh, I could get 2 refugees in that. You're going to give it up, or do I have to tax you for it? Because that's what's going to happen, because that's what it's all about, and she damn well knows it. They're coming for our private property now, folks, and they think they have an absolute chance in getting it. They're making news reports to you about it. What's that tell you?
Did you know that there's a law in the UK that allows you to withhold paying tax to the government? I'm Caroline, and my videos are mainly about bagging a bargain, but also about making and saving you money. As I said, there is a law in the UK that allows you to not pay taxes to the government and instead put that money into a trust until your government stops supporting war crimes. So this is how it works. You have to set up a trust and put 90% of your tax into it. Notify HMRC and let them know that they can collect it once they can prove that they aren't complicit in war crimes. If you're on PAYE, let your employer's finance department know that you do not want to be complicit in government crime, and then let them know your trust information. They will then pay 90% of your tax into that. Make sure to check every tax year with HMRC if they are able to collect that money. The likelihood is no. If you would like to know other ways to make and save money, be sure to follow along because I do videos like this all the time.
Even more tax in the UK as your savings could be taxed, but there is a solution. Personally, I can't believe your bank could soon share your details with the HMRC and you might owe tax on your savings interest straight from your income. Chancellor Rachel Reeves just approved new rules. If you earn interest on your savings, HMRC want to tax it easier. Basic taxpayers get £1,000 tax free, higher rate only £500, and top earners nothing. With wages up, more of us are losing our tax free allowance. That means surprise tax bills, but here's the good news. You can use a cash ISA. All your interest is tax free up to $20,000 a year. It's simple and you get to keep more of your money. And you can take this a step further and invest into a stocks and shares ISA. But what if you're not sure what to invest into? Well, if you type yes below, I can show you step by step. This is not financial or investing advice. This is purely for educational purposes. And the information is based on 24 years experience as an investor. I started in the stock market as an 18-year-old in 2001. I do this type of content because I've seen too many people with too many regrets over the last 20 years.
Just want to say a massive shout out to our Prime Minister. While we are off trying to have fun with our families, he has now come out with, in January, that we will be having a grocery tax. Yes, a grocery tax. So he took the cold weather payments off the old people to make them freeze. Then he says he's going to bring out these fat jabs for the people that are obese, because it is going to take pressure off the NHS. Now he has brought out a grocery tax. So the old people will now freeze and they will also starve. And it was completely pointless bringing out the fat jab because everybody that struggled this year, that had to skip a meal maybe, had to get a little bit less shopping, your shopping is now going to double. So he hasn't got to worry about us getting diabetes because we're all going to be fucking anorexic because we're not going to be able to afford to live. And for what? So he can send all our money to Ukraine, Syria, all the different fucking countries that have got fuck all to do with us. What a fucking shit show. I don't know who voted for him, but you need your fucking hard drives checking. What a shower of shit. It's completely pointless trying to work and live in this country. We might as well float in on a fucking dinghy, get put up in an hotel and have it all handed on a fucking plate. Because the more we try, the more we get backlash and get fuck all for our money. What a shower of shit. Somebody get that fraudulent, horrible, granny bashing bastard in jail. Fucking hell.
This overreaching, overarching dictatorship of a government, the UK government, the Labour government, making tax digital is now the new mantra that the accountancy brigade of the government has pushed out to all of us who are self-employed. They want us to fill in a self-assessment four times a year. Not once a year. No, we're not busy enough trying to run our businesses and stay afloat, make money and live. No, 4 times a year. Why? So they can monitor us and make sure we're not fiddling any books. Look, we're lucky if we get any bloody jobs and work when you're self-employed. It's difficult. Everything's difficult. You are literally on your own when you're self-employed, apart from when the government wants your data 4 times a year. It's all got to be in digital form, no paperwork, all digital form, sent off from your accountant probably to them, so they can run their AI on it and make sure you're not fiddling them out of a penny. Making tax digital, here to make your life miserable. Yeah, you've only got to earn over 30,000 per year by 2027, and you're going to have to do this. So, entrepreneurs in the UK, you're stuffed.
There's been so much talk about taxes in the last 2 weeks than there has in the last 20 years. And this is because it's particularly divisive this time. It's very difficult for the government to get to this point, and I'm going to tell you why. So my name is Annabelle. I am an accountant here in the UK. I help people and businesses run their businesses and also make sure they are being as efficient as possible when they are running their businesses, because we do not want to be overpaying tax if we do not have to. And you will have seen Rachel Reeves in the papers this weekend talking about what they're going to do with taxes, and the likelihood is the average person is going to be impacted by the decisions of Labour. And it's quite a historic moment, because Labour have never been in this position where they've had to raise taxes on the working people, and that's what they're going to be doing. That's my guess. They're not going to do anything else. What they should be doing is taxing the billionaires, and I think people get really hung up on protecting billionaires, and I don't understand, because a billionaire, the best analogy I can give you is if you earn 100 grand a year, right? 100 grand a year, and you don't spend a single penny of it, you don't get taxed on it, right? This is just a hypothetical. 100 grand a year, you put that £100,000 away every single year, it will take you 10 years to become a millionaire, right? Don't worry about compounding interest, we're just using round numbers for this specific analogy. 100,000 times by 10 gets you to 1 million. It would take you 10,000 years to become a billionaire in that exact same scenario. So don't sit there and try and protect billionaires, because they are so wealthy, they can't even comprehend how wealthy they are. And we struggle as humanity to be able to comprehend how much money that is. So if someone has made an unbelievable amount of money between COVID, because let's be honest, they've made a lot of money during COVID, and now, and they have paid an unbelievably small amount of tax on that, there needs to be some form of wealth tax on people that have assets worth over a certain amount of money. Now, some people are saying that's 10 million, maybe it's more than that. Whatever it is, it needs to stop coming from the average person, because we will get squeezed out to such an extent that the gap between wealth and poverty will just keep growing, and the middle class are now going to get squeezed. That's the reality of it. And people that have been in financial difficulties up until this point, it will only get harder. So please stop protecting billionaires, because they don't need protecting, and please consider yourselves when you are looking at what's happening here and whether you see it fit and fair for your current situation, because Rachel Reeves is going to be coming for your personal money, and it's not okay. There are ways and means to be getting money out of the UK system for people that have a disproportionate amount of wealth.
This is breaking news. It is believed that taxes may have to rise another £40 billion to cover a quote-unquote fiscal black hole that has emerged again. What those tax rises will be, who they will be on, who this will affect, will be up to the Chancellor. What taxes do you think should be increased?
Does she have to raise taxes then?
That's what she's going to, I fear, conclude, but that will almost certainly make the hole even bigger. We can have this argument about whether she inherited a £22 billion black hole or not. I don't think she did. But I think we can no longer have an argument about whether the hole is now bigger. It is. She's kept digging. And the problem is this, Patrick. We are now taxing the UK economy to the max. Over my lifetime, the government has never tried to squeeze as much out of the economy in tax as it is now. Getting towards 40% of the entire economy is being squeezed out in tax one way or the other. Here's the problem. You dial that up, growth flatlines or even goes into reverse. If you put up another national insurance rise, employment will fall. If you go for a wealth tax, even more millionaires will start to flee the country. The tax dial is turned to max. If you turn it another notch, you probably won't get any more revenue. You'll just dampen growth.
Let's bring up the debt clock, shall we? Can we bring up the debt? There it is. Good. Now it's a number so big that it makes you wince. But debt is rising by 5,170 quid a second. At some point, does someone call this in?
Well, yes. I mean, at the moment, we're effectively living on tick, right? So just servicing that debt is costing us more per year than we spend on the education budget. Just servicing it. We're not clearing the credit card. We're just paying the credit card fees. So that number's going to keep going up. Public spending is unsustainable. There is no way we can keep spending at this sort of level. And sooner or later, politicians of all stripes are going to have a serious discussion about what we're going to cut. And I would think, initial first blush, you've got to find £100 billion worth of savings and fast.
So what does Keir Starmer mean, Sir Keir Starmer mean, when he says now that he's going for a growth in living standards? That's his big thing, because before it was about going for growth just economically.
Yeah.
So what's this pivot?
So I think he's going to argue, if interest rates go down a notch and you've got a mortgage, you're better off. It's now easy, right? But what we really need to see is not just the UK economy growing fast, and it's basically not growing at all. We need to see it growing faster per person. Because you've got to remember, the population's going up. So if the economy is staying at the same level, that's the same pie to share amongst more people. We should be measuring GDP per capita, income per person in Britain. And if anything, that's going down.
The biggest scam in this country is taxes, right? We pay taxes for the money that we make. We pay taxes for the money that we spend. We pay fucking taxes for the things that we own that we've already paid taxes for. We've already taxed fucking money.
So the country's completely skint. Apparently the black hole in the accounts or public finances is between 40 and 50 billion pounds now, which is double the amount when good old Lego head Rachel Reeves and two-tier Keir took over. But at the very same time, the levels of taxation in this country as a percentage of GDP is the highest pretty much it's ever been. So how do those two things square off? How have we not got enough money for anything? How are we having to borrow increasingly large amounts of money? How is the national debt at the highest level it's ever been? Yet the levels of taxation are also higher than they've ever been. Clearly, we're spending too much money and we're spending it on the wrong things, we're spending it in the wrong places and we're wasting it. That's the easy answer. To give you an idea of just how high taxes are, let's just look at basic taxes like income tax. So the government, all the governments, Conservative and the current Labour government, would argue, well, we haven't put taxes up. We haven't put taxes on working people up, as Labour describe it. We haven't put income tax up. But they have. They absolutely have, by freezing the thresholds for so many years. How many times have the thresholds gone up, let's say, in the last 10 years? The Tories did it a fair bit. They pushed it up to £12,000, I think it's £750 now, for the lowest tax threshold. But look at how high inflation has been. Somebody's done a calculation to say where should the thresholds be if they had kept pace with inflation over the last few years or recent years. Well, nobody should be paying tax until they got to 16 grand of earnings, but instead it's 12,570, I think it is. The 40% band, which currently kicks in, I believe it's just over 50 grand, about 50,400 quid, should be between 65 and 70 grand. And the 45% rate, which I think is at about 110 grand, 120 grand, don't quote me on that if I'm wrong, but it's there or thereabouts, should be closer to 200 grand. The VAT threshold for businesses, which I think currently is just under 90 grand, about 88 grand, should be up around the £120,000 mark. So by freezing these thresholds, they drag more and more and more people and more businesses into paying tax and excessive amounts of tax. But the country's still skint. Figure that out.
Every single day it's getting from bad to today's announcement means that savings account will be taxed, not from the account itself, but directly from your income. That means from your pay packet, they will tax you additionally on top of your income tax for your savings. Chancellor has approved new legislation to change the way personal savings is taxed in the UK. New requirements mean workers will pay savings tax directly from their pay packets without submitting a self-assessment. From April 2027, banks will be required to tell HMR Revenue and Customs when savers have passed their threshold on personal savings allowances, so they have to pay tax accordingly. Banks will be required to ask the new and existing customers with savings account for their NI numbers to make it easier for HMRC to bill taxpayers who reach the personal savings threshold. So basically, if you've got savings account and you've got savings above £1,000 or whatever your personal threshold is, depending on your income, they will tax you from your income. So basically, they'll tax you from your payslip, not from the account, which is currently the situation, or you have to do a self-assessment, which just honestly, I just can't believe it. I just can't believe that we are being hung dry. It's like getting blood from stone. That's what it is. We will end up owning absolutely nothing and we will be expected to be happy. What's your thoughts? Let me know in the comments, like and share, give me a follow. See you on the next one.
Prime Minister Rodney and the Labour government are looking to introduce a new type of tax. And for me, this sinks to an all-time low, lower than the winter fuel payments for the old age pensioners and lower than the inheritance tax for the farmers. Are you ready for this one? And just bear in mind, this could affect every single one of us, considering the way our government are behaving towards other countries and where everything seems to be heading for the future. Anyone serving in the military, if they were to die during training or deployment, their families would be compensated and would receive additional support. Prime Minister Rodney has stated that he is looking to tax any compensation and support that these families would receive. Don't believe me? Watch what I'm about to show you.
For these possible deployments, if one of our soldiers dies in training, Mr. Starmer has already stated that he's going to tax the lump sum that the veterans' families will receive. Where is the incentive for our soldiers to go and fight for king and country? You know, when we fought for queen and country, this country meant something. You know,
This country is going to absolute shit. It is literally falling to absolute shit. Like I said, considering how the governments are behaving with other countries and what has been talked about and is on the radar of like conscription, national service, no wonder they're looking to tax compensation for any fallen soldiers in conflict or training. Can they go any lower? Let me know what you think in the comments of this. For fuck's sake.
People are saying that Rachel Reeves has a £40+ billion black hole in the UK budget and she's got to fill it in October. She's hinting at tax rises. I'm questioning whether there's even a black hole. But the point is, does she need to tax people more or does she actually need to collect the tax that's already owed? It's an important question because the reality is that there are big problems with uncollected tax in the UK, and in particular, one tax. And
so if you are thinking about moving out of the UK, especially to the UAE, for example, I would highly recommend you think about this sooner rather than later, because new UK tax rules are coming into play. October the 30th will be the new budget, and in that they have already said they will be doing something called the exit tax. Now, a lot of people have asked me a lot of questions on this, and it's something that I am picking up in my conversations that I have with new movers. There's a link in my bio if you are thinking about moving to the UAE or setting up a business. But it is something which everyone needs to know, because it's going to be horrible. Basically, what they're trying to do is tax people if they're living in the UK, tax them a little bit more. But if they want to leave, they are also going to tax you a lot more. And by that, I mean, potentially, they will be taxing you on your personal property, even businesses. It might be something called a business exit tax as well. And that will mean that on the date that you actually move, you will have to pay capital gains tax on the sale, which wouldn't actually be a sale, of your properties. So if you've got properties in your personal name, it will be as if you sold them on the date that you're moving out, and you would have to pay that capital gains tax before you actually move out of the country. And that is what the exit tax will be. Now, this can be anything from 10% all the way up to like 23, 24%. So it depends on the amount of gain that you have actually made on those properties. You still own the property. However, you don't benefit from moving out of the UK and not paying anything on any of your assets that you have in there at the moment. So if you are thinking about moving, I would highly recommend doing it before the 31st of October, because they haven't announced it yet. They don't know what the date will be. They might have it on that date, which would be very harsh, or they might have it from April 2025. However, if it's something that you're planning already, try and move that date a little bit sooner, just in case. If it means that you just need to get out of the country for a couple of weeks and use that as your moving date before the 31st of October, I would do that if you have got a lot of gain in property. But if you do need to speak to a specialist, then I do have a couple of slots.
Okay, I have had enough of all this nonsense of taxing us to the hilt. I will see you all on the next video. If you can afford the cost of the Wi-Fi,